Hello, and welcome to the show. I'm Jacob Hedges, alongside Matt Wilson and Cody Hammonds. Today on deck, we'll be discussing our picks for our all-time Mount Rushmore, and we'll be talking about our predictions for the Champions League final. It's all being discussed right here on the GamePlan. With last year's Champions League winner, Bayern Munich, getting upset by Paris Saint-Germain, who do you guys think will end up winning this year's tournament?
Well, first and foremost, I want to touch on who I think is going to be the underdog. My pick of the team for being the underdog is Dortmund. Currently, they are down an aggregate 1-2, but I think they can bring it back. They've shown a lot of great skills this year, and I really want to go with them for my underdog pick. Unfortunately, the team that I think is going to win is PSG. A little bit of a fun fact here. In the last 8 of the 9 Champions League championships, either Bayern Munich or the team that defeats Bayern Munich has went on to win the championship. And that was most recently PSG, so that's going to be my pick for the team to win. But I'm always pulling for the underdog Dortmund. So,
I think for me, that was a very good stat that you just pulled up. 8 out of 9 of the last 9. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, Bayern Munich's my favorite team, so I kind of want to go on a little bit of a rant with them. They are very good. And for PSG to beat them this year was absolutely an upset.
Yeah.
Because they went on to win last year in such a great fashion. And for them to lose it, against PSG, I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
See, you got to think they lost 3-3. They lost on away goals alone. The scoreline was tied, but the way UEFA has it set up, you can win on away goals, where if you score at the away place of the team you're playing against, that goal counts for more than just one goal. And so it was really unfortunate, but at the same time, Paris was going into that game wanting revenge from last season. Paris has spent so much money. They've broken 2 world records signing Neymar and Mbappe. And to not win the Champions League season after season, I'm really concerned for my pick, Chelsea. Obviously they had the easiest draw in the quarterfinal against FC Porto. But they advanced through to the semifinals, first time in 7 years that they've done that. Now, Chelsea's a team that's always needs to be in the semifinals, if not the actual finals. So seeing Paris upset Bayern Munich is something. Now, the winner of Dortmund and Manchester City is going to have to play Paris. That's going to be a real test for either of those teams. And then Chelsea's going to have to play the winner of Liverpool-Real Madrid. So my picks for the finals, it's going to be Paris and Chelsea. And the reason being, I freaking love Chelsea, and I think Paris is going to go through on the other side. It's going to be a very interesting matchup should that happen, because Chelsea's current coach is Paris's former coach from last season, who took them to the final. So the question will be, will our predictions be right? Or are we going to see an underdog like Dortmund upset Paris to get to the final?
Yeah.
You never know in soccer, and that's what we're all here for this season.
Yeah, and something to kind of mention there, you were talking about how PSG lost to Bayern last year. It's something out of a movie, honestly, for them to lose to Bayern in that fashion last year and then to come back and beat them and knock them out of the Champions League tournament and potentially go on to, play Chelsea in the final and win it. I mean, I don't know. It's just, it makes me anxious, but at the same time, it's just like you have to respect it.
So. Oh, yeah. You respect that whole team and that whole organization, but, at the same time, I'm going to be cheering for one team and one team only. Let's go Blues.
the Morehead State baseball team has had a lot of ups and downs this season, but are making a strong push to be the #1 seed in the OVC tournament. Here's more on their story.
Morehead State baseball has had a very successful season thus far, with coming out to a 23-16 overall record, with wins over some of the top programs in Division I. Early this season, the Eagles went up against the #1 ranked Louisville Cardinals and managed to beat them at home 5-2, which is the first time in history that Morehead State baseball has ever taken down the #1 team in the country. Aside from Louisville, Morehead State has also picked up non-conference wins against Ohio, Dayton, Norfolk State, and Marshall. They're having a very good out-of-conference start to the season. The Eagles' top producer is infielder Jackson Feltner, a freshman from Louisa, Kentucky. Feltner leads the team in batting average with hitting above a .400. To go along with it, he has 53 hits, 37 RBIs, and 9 home runs. Now the Eagles are at the top of the OVC and hope to continue their winning ways in order to get to the NCAA tournament. I'm Matt Wilson for the Game Plan.
With the recent rumors of the Buffalo Bills allowing full capacity crowds next season and Texas having over 38,000 people at their home openers, do you guys think it's time to have full capacity crowds in sports?
Now, I don't necessarily think it's time for us to have full capacity crowds back in sports. I think, having 30, 40, 50% of a full attendance would be the start. You can't just go jumping wildly into it with all the stuff that's been going on. With the Buffalo Bills, the interesting thing there is, they're saying they're going to allow this full capacity crowd to come to their game, their home opener, but only if they present their vaccination card. So that it's a very interesting and touchy subject right now, because you've got teams like FC Cincinnati, where I have season tickets to, who season ticket holders aren't even going to be able to go to every game just because of, they're not allowing full capacity and they can only allow so many people. So the question I have is, where do we draw the line? How long do we have to do half capacity crowds until we can have full capacity crowds? I think having Texas have the full capacity crowd at that baseball game, that's absolutely ridiculous. But that's Texas for you. You can own a tiger in Texas if you want to. That's just Texas. I would rather own a monkey. But the point being is, it's not, we don't necessarily know if it's going to be safe enough for us to throw 70, 80, 100,000 people into a stadium. And are they still going to require masks to be worn in that stadium? Like, once everyone's sitting down and has drinks, are their masks going to be off and they're still sitting neck to neck, shoulder to shoulder? So I don't know where we can go other than doing this 50%, 30%, 40%, whatever we do, but going straight into full capacity, I just don't see that as a good idea.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Jacob. I don't think going straight into 100% is a good idea at all. I think that we should work our way up. I know for the past year or so, it's been, slowly working our way up to, 12%, to 25%, 30%, so on and so forth. Jumping straight from 30 to 100 is a bit drastic, a bit exaggerated. I don't think it spells well. I think a lot of people are seeing it as a positive because, you get back to that normal state, but I don't think we're necessarily in a position to go straight back to a normal state. I do think you should hold off, get more people vaccinated, and maybe keep it around, like you said, 40 or 50. I do want to touch on a little bit of how this is going to affect the game. Obviously, it's just rumors at the moment, but if you were to have a full crowd, and then they did have 38,000 people, or over 38,000 people at their home opener, if you did have a full crowd, that's going to toss it up a little bit. The home crowd definitely makes a difference when it comes to playing games and such. Having a crowd heckling you makes it a lot harder to play. But in short, I really don't think that we should be jumping straight back into something like this, especially something this big. But I do think if they follow along with this and the rumor does end up being true, that it'll have a significant impact on the next NFL season. And I just don't agree with it. I don't think it's a good idea, and I don't think we should do it.
I'm with you guys on this. I mean, we were in a very, very odd situation with last year's baseball season and going into the NFL and even into the Super Bowl as well, with them only allowing, some sort of percentage to go and not, having a full capacity crowd to do so. And for them to just say full blown that, yeah, we're going to have everybody go, full capacity next season, I think it's reckless to do. And not only that, because, if you look at everything that you have to take into account in order for that to happen, we're just not at the right place to do that. And, you were talking with the Buffalo Bills, with them, like, you have to show your vaccination cards in order to go. But even then, you just don't know what to expect from that.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of play it by ear. And I think just going from 30% to 100 is, like I said, it's reckless. I think that you could build up, maybe 2 seasons to get to that point. But in terms of going, we're just going to completely disregard everything that everybody has put in place to go full capacity. And with the Rangers doing that, it showed that we weren't ready for that necessarily, because, it was nice seeing a full stadium again, and that's where we want to be, but at the same time, it's going to take some time to get there.
Yeah.
You can't just do it, out of one season be like, okay, we're here now. We're not out of this pandemic yet, and people just want to get back to where we were. It's going to take time, and it's going to take effort to get to that place.
Yeah, and if you got, organizations, sport organizations at the very least saying, hey, bring 30,000 people, let's cram them all in this one place. Does that set a good example for all the other sport
It's
organizations?
careless,
Yeah.
and it sets a bad example for everybody that's in that sort of culmination or that area, because you're basically telling not only your fans and the organizations, but the public as well, that we just want the money, we want the revenue, and we don't care about the consequences that could possibly happen if we did that.
Yeah.
And so what I think they should do, and obviously I don't own an organization, but I think what I would do personally, if you want to get back to that full capacity crowd like we all do, work up towards it, Go from 20% to maybe 45, and see how that works out, and just keep progressively building onto it. But you can't just, go full Bergallion and just go full capacity and expect everything to work out, according to plan. So I think it's reckless, and I think that it's not going to go well at all.
No, and I'd like to touch on what Cody said, that, not having fans is a deterrence and a distraction maybe to the players, but at the same time, those fans could be a deterrent or distraction to the players. So, and just from what I've watched, you see some of these players, and sometimes, just sometimes, it doesn't look like they're even trying out there. There's no fans out there cheering them on, and they're playing at their home stadiums, and they're not trying. It might as well be a training session against this team or a preseason game. So I'm with 100% agreement with both of you guys that we need to slowly build up, but we're going to have to take some time to get there.
Howdy. This is Jacob Hedges from the GamePlan. Beside me is Matt Wilson, producer, creator of the GamePlan. He's also a co-host. We all know who Matt is. So anyways, we said in the last episode here that we were going to do a home run derby. It's been pouring the rain for the last 72 hours, so we're not going to do a home run derby. And since it's the final episode of the GamePlan, we're going to throw it back and do a little montage of all of our sports segments that we've done. So, enjoy.
Yeah, I just came down here to play a little ball. Yeah, I'll probably be home here shortly. Yeah, I should make it home by dinner.
Let's go.
Honestly, I don't even know what the hell we're doing out here.
There have been a lot of great players in the history of sports, and some that are completely above the rest. Who are the 4 guys that you guys would put on your Mount Rushmore?
All right, y'all. Y'all might not like what I have to say, but I'm only going to put players on my Mount Rushmore that I've watched myself. Now, the thing is that we're not narrowed down here by any means. We were able to choose any sport that we wanted, any athlete. So I'm going to start off with Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods deserves to be on there. I watched him when I was a kid. We all watched him when we were kids. And he's one of the greatest of all time, one of the best golfers we've ever seen in our lifetimes. So he, without a shadow of a doubt, he needs to be on there. My second pick is probably going to be LeBron James. Now, I'm not saying this to start a Michael Jordan, who's better, LeBron James. I don't care. From what I've seen as a human being alive on this earth, LeBron James is one of the best basketball players I've ever seen. I mean, just look at what he's done. The man is one of the greatest of all time. With my third, This one is not necessarily stat-wise appropriate, but just a personal pick. I would put Didier Drogba from Chelsea, striker for Chelsea up there. He played for the Ivory Coast national team, and they qualified for the World Cup at a time when the Ivory Coast was in a civil war. And they won the game that qualified them for the first time. It might not have been the first time, but they got to the World Cup. That ended the civil war. Drogba single-handedly, at the end of the game, grabbed a microphone, got all the freaking press cameras out and said, "Film me right now." And he talked to everyone that was fighting and said, "Lay down your arms and come root for us at the World Cup." They didn't make it out of the group stages of the World Cup, but it's one of the coolest things. And the figure that he is for Chelsea, my favorite team, is immense. So I have to put him on there for my own personal pleasure. Now the last one, we all have 4. You were about to cut me off. I don't like that.
My bad.
So the last one, Brian Scalabrine. Yeah, he is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. As I was saying, LeBron James was earlier. I couldn't have done a Mount Rushmore without including this man. Simply saying because he is the White Mamba. If you're going to make a Mount Rushmore out of anyone's faces, you definitely want to have someone named the White Mamba on your Mount Rushmore. So I'm going to go ahead and let my co-host take the focal point off of me because I need to shut up.
So you said that,
Yep.
and I'm going to pretend you didn't say Brian Scalabrine, but my Mount Rushmore, I agree with you on Tiger Woods. I think you can't not put Tiger Woods in your Mount Rushmore because he changed the game of golf. He won the second most amount of Masters tournaments. Number one being Jack Nicklaus, but at the same time, Tiger was the face of golf for so many years. From the time that he was 18, to now. Whenever you think of golf, you think of Tiger Woods.
Yep.
So I definitely had to put them up there. And then also, you said LeBron James. I have to fully disagree with you, disrespectfully.
Oh, that's fine.
It's Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan deserves 100% to be on Mount Rushmore more than LeBron James. I don't even want to say because of the rings, but you have to put in the rings. Not only that, but the scoring titles that he has, the amount of MVPs, he's just a better player than LeBron James. And I had to put him on my Mount Rushmore.
But see, I was very specific in what I said here, Matt. I said players that I've seen and watched with my own eyes.
I
I've
agree.
never gone back and even tried to watch Michael Jordan videos, and maybe that makes me a bad sports guy. But you can't be disrespecting me over here from my choice.
I'm just saying, from a statistical standpoint, and also watching both, Michael Jordan was better than LeBron James. That's just my opinion.
That's fair. That's fair.
And Tom Brady also goes into that factor of he is just, leagues above everybody else, with winning rings. And not only that, but people don't seem to realize that he also has the stats to back himself up as well, with being top 5 in most of the categories like passing yards, passing touchdowns, all of that. So he definitely deserves to be in the Mount Rushmore as well. And then for the last one, Hank Aaron, man. You lead all time in home runs, with or without Barry Bonds in that picture. I have to put you in my Mount Rushmore, man. He was just an amazing baseball player, and he was one of those guys that changed the game forever. And so I definitely had to put them in there.
See, I'm surprised, man, you didn't put Tim Wakefield instead of Hank Aaron.
Oh, my God.
Tim Wakefield was one of those players that was at the top of the pitching game for the longest of times, threw a knuckleball like no one else. So it's really surprising me to hear you say that.
Well, even in that aspect, I don't think he was the best pitcher of all time. I think that either goes to Nolan Ryan or Randy Johnson, big unit, which is my personal favorite. But yeah, that's my Mount Rushmore for sure.
I'm inclined to agree with you guys on the Tiger Woods thing. I mean, he's just phenomenal down the line. He got into a bunch of scandals and stuff like that, but regardless, he's the best golfer we've ever seen. Like you said, Jacob, we grew up watching him. He's phenomenal. For my list, I personally decided to step outside of the world of basketball and baseball. With basketball, you have the typical conversation of, as you guys said, who's better, Jordan, LeBron, whatever. I think there's a lot of different positions in basketball, and there's a lot of different eras, and it's really kind of hard to say who's the greatest athlete, because if you want to compare specific players, sure, you could say LeBron or Jordan, but athlete-wise, probably height and vertical, probably Wilt Chamberlain. But I decided to step outside of the world of basketball and baseball. With that being said, my second greatest athlete is Michael Phelps. He was a phenomenal swimmer, has 23 gold medals. That's completely unheard of, completely dominated his sport. Nobody could even touch him. Nobody even came close to him. And he's since then retired, and his legacy will probably never be broken. And if it is broken, it probably won't be in our lifetimes. With my third pick, again, stepping outside of the most popular sports, I'm going to have to go with Muhammad Ali, the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. He did phenomenal things, was an absolutely stand-up boxer. He's from here in Kentucky, and I just think that he's undisputed. And then going on to my last one, football, it's the same as, it has a lot of different positions like baseball and basketball, but when it comes to it, nobody disagrees that Tom Brady's the GOAT. He is an insane player. He's defied all odds. Years when people told him that he wasn't going to make it past the first round, he wasn't going to make the playoffs, he goes on to win the Super Bowl. He jumps to a new team. Everyone said he's a system player, and then he wins the Super Bowl in the first year that he's in Tampa Bay. So that's my four. I decided to step outside of conventional, most popular sports, but I think these athletes have changed the game. They've done phenomenal things, and yeah, that's my Mount Rushmore.
So as you guys know, we've been doing this show for a long time. Our director, Matt Wilson, this is his last episode. And so I wanted to take a portion of this episode and just give a huge shout out to Matt. Without Matt, none of this would be possible. Every single week, he's in here, day in, day out, working his butt off. And we couldn't be more proud of him and how excited we are to watch him walk down the stage to graduate. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's my boy. All right. So that's all I have to say. Matt's one of my best friends. I love this guy to death, and I appreciate the opportunity he gave me to come up here and talk stupid about sports.
Matt, buddy, first and foremost, this is my first year on the show. I really appreciate you letting me come on here and talk about sports, even if you disagree with me. I appreciate all your hard work. You've done a lot of good things. Even if you disagree that Brian Scalabrine isn't the GOAT, it's all right, no big deal. It's been a heck of a year, and I wish you the best of luck, buddy, and I'm going to miss you.
Well, thank you for joining us here on the Game Plan. I'm Matt Wilson alongside my boys Jacob Hedges and Cody Hammonds. Thank you for watching.